Setting up for the live meeting. Redirecting to Facebook Live. And hello, everyone. My name is Gary Baumgarten, but I expect you already know that. And I want to welcome you to our latest discussion. And today it's a little bit different because we actually have been able to find a company they're not working, but they're still getting paid. And we're going to figure out how they do that. Right now, joining me live from Cincinnati, Ohio, is Rick Pawlak. He is the Senior Vice President of Ultimate Jet Charters. And Rick, welcome to this discussion on Facebook Live, on paltalk.com, and on YouTube.
Well, good evening, Gary. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, we appreciate you joining us. So the story is either places are open, like where I work at Fox. I'm very fortunate to be working and getting paid. Or places are closed and people are laid off or furloughed, and they're waiting for money from Uncle Whiskers, Uncle Sam, to keep them rocking and rolling. But at Ultimate, you elected to, while you've grounded your air fleet, you've elected to continue to pay your employees. First, give us the background of that, Rick, on what your thought process was on that.
Sure, I'd love to. It's a great question. You know, to take a step back, we've been in business for 36 years in Ohio. A lot of our customers don't even know that. We've been around a long time. So we take every decision that we make with our employees very seriously, as well as our company. So when this crisis began, we started to see the revenue decline in early March. We had to make a decision. Do we idle our city pairs now, or do we wait to see how it goes? Well, we elected to idle them as fast as we could, and that saved us from severe revenue losses. Then we had to make a decision, well, what do we do about our people? As you said, a lot of companies around the country and around the world are furloughing people, especially in the aviation industry. So we made a decision to pay all of our employees their fare until the payroll protection money came out, which we just received our first payment, ironically, today. So it's paid off.
So you had enough money in your cash reserves to be able to continue to pay your employees, which a lot of companies apparently their margins were such that they couldn't do that.
That is correct. We utilized the money we had in our company, and even our investment group kicked in too. So it just wasn't the money that we had inside our company. Our investment group put a substantial investment toward our employees to keep them on board.
So from what I'm gathering, talking to you directly and to other people as I researched this, you have a pretty good, it's almost a symbiotic relationship between the company and the employees. And this effort on your part can only further enhance that kind of a relationship.
Oh, I totally agree. And just the teamwork going behind the scenes right now. You know, you mentioned some of our people are home. That is true. And a lot of people are working from home, improving our processes behind the scenes. So we are turnkey ready. When we start up our scheduled service again, we're going to be ready to go. We're not going to have to go through a few weeks of restarting the training and getting caught up on all the updated guidelines from the FAA. We're ready to go as soon as our customers are ready.
So I don't know very much about maintenance of airplanes, but I do know that with my car, for example, if I leave it sitting in front of my house for the duration of this pandemic, the battery isn't going to turn over. It's not going to be lubricated properly. The tires are going to go flat. So once a week, I take my car out for a ride and I open it up on the Garden State Parkway to the maximum allowed speed.
Blow that carbon out, right?
So, is that an issue with the airplanes if they stay grounded for too long as well?
Well, sometimes. All of our maintenance staff, actually, they are working in our facility as we speak. What we did was we accelerated all of our scheduled maintenance ahead of that phased out time. So the thought behind that is once we start flying more, all of our aircraft will be available. to your point, if they sit long, you don't want it to get lot rot, right? So, we're making sure that all of our maintenance phases are done as we speak.
So lot rot, that's an interesting term. I like that one. Is that one that you made up, or do they call that lot rot in the industry?
Actually, I got that from the car industry. One of my old business partners, he owns the largest auto group, one of the largest auto groups here in Northeast Ohio, and he uses that term all the time.
So before we went to air, you and I, Rick Pawlak at Ultimate Jet Charters we were talking about, even when they loosen the restrictions, some people are going to be fearful of, or at least reticent about flying. I don't want to get on a commercial airliner packed in like sardines. We're supposed to be maintaining social distancing, and I don't frankly know how they're going to survive and maintain social distancing, both the airlines, and I hope they do survive. We need them. But this may actually be an opportunity for the charter industry. Now, not everybody is well-heeled enough to be able to afford your services, but I would think that if somebody is a corporate business person who normally flies commercial, maybe folks in your industry will get a phone call from them because they feel more comfortable riding in the back of a plane like they're in the back of a limousine.
Well, you're exactly right, Gary. And we have two divisions in our company. We have Ultimate Jet Charters. That is our on-demand charter division that can handle charters all across the United States. And then we have our Ultimate Air Shuttle division, which is that scheduled service that you and I were speaking of earlier that originates out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and goes to 5 different city pairs. The charter division, we are actually running it right now. We had a couple charters last week, as a matter of fact. To your point, companies, they need to go. And now in this time, they're going to have to go even faster, I think, than usual, meaning getting their work groups to a destination. And to give you an example of that, we did a trip last week for a company that specializes in sanitizing masks. We flew them from Florida to Idaho. And if we would have furloughed our people and idled our entire fleet, we would not have been able to do that trip. And it was a very important trip for the medical industry.
You are pretty bullish about the future, at least of your industry, and the fact that these restrictions are going to be slowly removed in the next several weeks, and you'll be back to almost normal?
I don't think we're going to be normal that fast. We are planning 4 phases in our restart for the Ultimate Air Shuttle brand. We're just going to bring back 2 of our destinations out of Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Atlanta first. And we're hoping that is as soon as June, mid-June. And then the second phase will be a few other city pairs. And then phase 3, we are planning an expansion. We think there's going to be a lot of destinations that have been left behind by commercial airlines because of the pandemic. So we are positioning ourselves to hopefully be able to expand right away and fulfill those destinations.
Wait a minute, you have regularly scheduled flights from Cincinnati to Cleveland? I could almost walk from Cincinnati to Cleveland.
Believe it or not, Gary, that is our #1 performing city pair out of all of them.
Really? That's very interesting. Just because time is money for a lot of people.
Yes, time is money, and 90% of our entire ridership, it is B2B. So we build the schedule to leave early in the morning, do your business in the city you go to. In this case, let's say Cleveland out of Cincinnati, and then we get you home in time for dinner. So we save a lot of money.
Oh, I guess so. Ruby Friedman, my friend, who is actually a musician, she heads the Ruby Friedman Orchestra. You've heard her stuff, even if you don't know her name. She was just commenting on your what we Jews would call tchotchke collection behind you there. So you were worried about it being distracting. Apparently, to some in the Facebook audience, it's an enhancement.
Well, yeah. So you're talking about the tchotchkes behind me.
Right. Oh, we just lost Rick Pawlak. Oh, you're back.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had a call coming in. I had to stop that call.
Oh, that's
yeah. So yes, with my tchotchkes behind me here, it's kind of my life shelf. Big sports fan, and There's a few things behind me that we were able to get out of a bad fire we had a few years ago. And what you see is pretty much all we got out of the house. And then we added a few more things to it. So that shelf is very much me.
Yeah, very cool. Well, again, Rick Pawlak from Ultimate Jet Charters, I think it's great that you were proactive and made sure that your employees kept getting paid during the period. It's almost like a bridge loan that someone might get to keep them going until the money came in from the government. I know some people are still waiting for their money, and God forbid you would have had to have laid them all off. I'm sure the situation in Ohio is no different than anywhere else. The unemployment offices have got to be overwhelmed, and folks just can't get through to get their benefits. So there are well-intentioned programs that some people just can't avail themselves of because they can't get a hold of the person in government. And this isn't a slap at government. It's just too many people calling at once trying to get some assistance.
Well, you're exactly right, Gary. And that's another reason why we're proud of the decision that we made to keep our people in place because of their health care and all those benefits. You know, as you furlough somebody, you have to restart all those things. And by keeping their payroll intact, it kept their household solid. My neighbor, for instance, she got furloughed from her travel company, and she still has not received her unemployment benefits from the state of Ohio. And it's been 6 weeks now. Yeah. So they're overwhelmed.
They are overwhelmed, and we have to all have a bit of patience. And I know a lot of people are concerned that we're not getting back fast enough, and other people are concerned that we may be getting back too fast. And we just have to learn during this time to quit being at each other's throats and be kind to one another. You know, Rick, this is a little off topic, but we were discussing it before we went to air. So I feel comfortable raising the discussion with you just for a moment here. You know, after 9/11, we were brought together as a one community in the United States. And unfortunately today, and maybe because the political climate is such as it is, some of us are at each other's throats, and we just have to remind one another to be patient with one another, be patient with the medical people, be patient with the government officials, even if we disagree with them. And it'll be better for us, our own souls, if we treat each other a little more kindly.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, Gary. You know, and you're right. 9/11 brought the nation together. And even in the financial crisis, it brought a lot of families together and businesses too, to sort of reinvent their business machine to accommodate those new times. And here we are again. And who would have thought within a 20-year period, we would have lived through these three things, you know, from 9/11 to the financial crisis to now a pandemic. You know, it's hard to plan for all those things, but, you know, I learned a long time ago that there's always a solution to a problem. No matter how dire things look or how upset somebody can get, just take a breath. There's always going to be another day.
Well, I'm happy to highlight what you're doing at Ultimate because you were proactive, you got ahead of it, you made sure your employees were well taken care of, and I think that causes there to be employee loyalty. That may not have been the reason why you did it. You might have done it for more altruistic reasons because you care about your workers. But I think there's a give back when a company does that, and hopefully other companies will follow your lead. Rick Pawlak at Ultimate Jet Charters. Thanks for joining us today on Facebook, paltalk.com, and on YouTube. And for those of you who are interested, I'm going to bid adieu here in a second, but here on Facebook. I'm going to slide over to paltalk.com to continue the conversation. That's a free download. Just click on the Paltalk Global Newsroom, and you'll find me there. Rick, maybe I'll see you in Oktoberfest. If we have an Oktoberfest.
Well, I look forward to it, Gary. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Peace out and stay safe.
Thank you. You too.